You cannot do this without pissing some people off.
You need something done, you need a man to do it.
Flamy. Are you kidding me? You literally just came up with Jack Me Velasquez. That is fucking iconic. Me
We
so
love you,
much.
Jackie. We love you so much. Un lugar celestial. Can we curse on this podcast?
Welcome to Unshut, a place where if at any point you feel like you need to shut the up, don't. Hey, can you hear
Hi.
me?
Yes, what about me? Can you hear me?
Amazing. Are you ready to get
Hi.
started?
Yeah, I am. Nice to meet you.
So nice to meet you.
You go by
Go ahead.
Mo, right?
I do, yes.
Okay.
So, super random. As I'm sitting here waiting for you to join in the call, I am having this laughing moment by myself because I am like, obviously your name Flamey.
Yes, I do know
And
that I named Flamey.
I'm like, oh my gosh, what tone should I use? Hey, Flamey. Hi, Flamey. Hey, Flamey. Hi, Flamey. I was literally practicing tones and I was laughing about this because yesterday I had this moment where I was recording an episode and for some reason I couldn't say the word gay without it sounding gay. So
I say gay pronunciations are really appropriate when you're talking to a drag queen. So Flamey, I don't know. Yeah, like say it however it feels in your body. Say it.
amazing. Well, here's the thing. This is how we're starting off this interview, okay? Because I'm just improvising with this right now and I'm putting both of us on the spot. We're going to go back and forth and see how many different ways we can say flamey.
All right, all right. Okay, are you going first?
I'll go first, yes. Flamey.
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 Flamey?
Flamey.
Flamey. All right, that was our little icebreaker for today.
Amazing.
I am so excited to have you here. I've been dying to have this chat with you today. So thank you so much for taking your morning and doing this with me.
Oh my gosh, it's an honor. Thank you for having me.
Of course, I know you're currently on tour, right?
I am. I'm in Brooklyn right now at my friend's apartment and playing a little gig tonight for Indie Music Week here in New York City. And then I actually do get to go home for a few days right after this, which is very nice.
Oh, I bet. Do you get homesick a lot while you're on tour?
Uh, Not really, because I tend to do these like week, 2 week stretches and then come home. The longer one, like a 2 week one, yeah, I'll start to get homesick. But if it's like a week, I'm like, good. Just
I
because I'm
love
so
it.
busy. Yeah, it's like you're driving around, you're trying to navigate from city to city and get to where you're going. I barely have time to think about anything. So I like being on the road, but it's a chore for sure.
And you're doing press in between too. So
Uh-huh. Yeah, any podcast that'll have me so I can talk about this music, girl.
I love it, which we will talk about that. I have so many good and hopefully unique questions you haven't been asked before. It's really
Ooh,
what the premise of this podcast is. I get guests on and I ask them questions they haven't been asked before. So, but before
love
we
it.
do that, once this episode airs, you'll still have some New York dates, including like New York. You'll still have Massachusetts, I believe, right?
Yeah. Basically, for the back half of Pride Month, I am in New England. So, like, kind of Syracuse, Saratoga Springs, Morristown, New Jersey. Gosh, I'm trying to think of them all, but they're all on my website and my socials. So you can definitely find them there. But yeah, can't wait for that run.
Are any of those places you haven't been to yet?
Yeah, like upstate New York, I haven't played yet. So that'll be fun. I played like New Jersey and Massachusetts. And Connecticut. I think I'm in Connecticut, one of those states. So, but yeah, getting more into upstate. My goal is to play, every state. I want to have a gig in every state at some point. So I got to hit like, Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont. I haven't gotten up that far north yet, but we're working on it. Working on it.
All right, we're going to go ahead and manifest that today. We're going to get you to every state
Yes.
in the US. What about countries? If you could pick two countries to add to your belt tomorrow, you're going to pack up your stuff, go there tomorrow, play live shows. What two countries would you choose?
Oh my gosh, this is cool. I am actually heading to two new countries next month. I am going to go play the UK and I'm going to play the Netherlands festivals over there this summer. So I don't have to say those two because that's happening. So I guess I will say, I mean, I'm a little bit of a Francophile. My mom was a French teacher and I went in high school a couple times, but I haven't been back to France since high school. So definitely France would be really fun. And I'm the kid who like loves the Lord of the Rings extended edition. So girl, New Zealand, like I want to go to New Zealand so bad.
I love that. Okay, so Lord of the Rings was your thing.
It was. I was that nerd for sure. Yeah. I mean, I was raised, super evangelical fundamentalist. So like The Hobbit was literally assigned reading at my Christian school. So yeah, we were into that.
No
Oh yeah,
way.
yeah, yeah. Yeah. I didn't read like Where the Red Fern Grows or like 1984, like some of the classics that, every high schooler reads. We didn't read all of those. Probably because they were like victims of a Christian book ban. And instead we read The Hobbit.
That's amazing. Okay,
Yeah.
so quick random question about that. In your relationship with your partner, is your partner also a fan of Lord of the Rings or not?
Probably less so. I mean, I know he's like seen the films. Although I don't know, he's kind of the more fantasy nerd of the two of us. It's just that he loves like YA witches and like vampires and he loves that kind of stuff. He probably has actually read them. He probably has. We just haven't talked about it because I'm trying not to be that much of a nerd anymore. So I'm not bringing up Lord of the Rings in daily conversation.
And here we are on the pod talking
And
about Lord of
here we
the
are.
I love it. Well, I was asking because I was going to see if you guys have actually sat through all the films together because I feel like
Mm.
if he wasn't a fan of them and he did, that's a love language right there.
Yeah, that's true. We may have. So, what we do every Christmas is pick a franchise to binge. So, like, it would be way too big now, but like when you're early on, when there still weren't a ton of Marvel movies, we did like all the Marvel movies and we did. Forgive us, goddess, for we have sinned, but Harry Potter. Which did you hear that Warner Brothers is this is completely off topic, but Warner Brothers is trying to buy the franchise from the bigot transphobe so that like
No.
yeah, I just heard that Warner Brothers is trying to buy it from her so that because like the actors won't do anymore with it as long as she's still attached. So that could be a cool thing if she's out fully out of the picture of the own world that she created. Anyway, neither here nor there. One year we did Harry Potter. So I'm trying to remember, we may have done a Lord of the Rings one year. That may have happened. But we've been together 10 years now, so I can hardly remember what happened 10 years ago.
10 years, that's goals. I love that.
Yeah, yeah, we're an old married couple at this point.
I love it. And you guys recently relocated from San Diego, correct?
We did, yeah. We met in San Diego. We both lived there for a long time. I was there for 17 years. And then we just last fall we moved back to my hometown of Asheville, North Carolina, which, is a choice, is a decision. Asheville's really cool. It's a cool town, but it's still in a, pretty rough state politically for a progressive person. So, but that's honestly part of why we came. My drag, what I do is very, very much speaks to evangelical culture, coming out of really fundamentalist high demand religion, all that. And that's, the South is home base for that whole culture. So it kind of makes sense for my drag to be headquartered, if you will, in the South. And then, we wanted our votes to count in a state that maybe they'll matter a little more than they would in California. Like California will be okay without us. And then, honestly, the biggest reason, well, my family's there, so that's another reason. And then the biggest reason is, girl, San Diego's now the most expensive city in the country. So like we knew we if we ever wanted to buy a house, if we ever wanted to put down roots, we need to find a place a little more accessible to a drag queen and someone in the service industry. So that's
Oh,
why we moved.
absolutely. Absolutely. And when it comes to moving back after 15 plus years, right? Was there still a bit of a culture shock for you going back after being gone for so long?
Yeah, it was actually almost 20 years because I first moved to Reno, Nevada for a couple years. Yeah, definitely culture shock. And also because growing up in North Carolina and in Asheville, like when I say I was raised fundamentalist evangelical, like I just need y'all to understand what that means. Like it was like think of the most like conservative vision of evangelicalism that you can, and then move a couple more steps to the right. And that was really our family. Like, I mean, we didn't have uniforms. Like it wasn't that kind of religion. But other than that, it was like women don't speak in our church growing up. Like women aren't allowed to teach or speak or anything. They have to like sit silently and cover their hair. And then like, people who are being raised men do obviously have to like take on that mantle of leadership, which is really insular. And so I didn't have a sense of I could have grown up anywhere because basically we lived in our home, in our church, and then in our Christian school. And that was my little triangle that I moved around in. And so I didn't actually know my hometown very well. So it's kind of cool to come back to it now as a grown up, as a adult, which I still don't feel like, but whatever, and experience it kind of fresh and bringing my husband into it. And like, it's like experiencing a brand new city. So it's very cool that way. And then yes, culture shock is real because I left for a reason. I had to get away from all that. And now we're back in it, and it's still very prevalent. And there are Confederate flags on the sides of freeways, and there are Jesus billboards everywhere, which is true kind of all over the country. The more I tour, the more I realize, oh, well, it's not really isolated to the South. Like Jesus billboards are everywhere. So, you do kind of put yourself in a bubble for a while, I think. At least I did. As a queer person, I was like, I had to go find my people. I had to go experience life on my terms. And I did. And I had a wonderful time in San Diego, and it's where I, came of age and learned who I was and made all of my lasting friendships. And now it's like time to do a little bit of work, I think. It's time to get back into quote unquote the real world. And yeah, because there are still queer kids suffering in places like where I grew up. So that's what I want to be about. Really long-winded answer. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. It's called on shut for a reason. Like,
Mm,
this is for yappers. This is for the people that have so much to say, and, we don't tell anyone to shut up here. So that was also something that really got my attention from you. There was something you had talked about because I thought that the honesty that went behind one of your answers in a previous interview in regards to saying that, yes, you're aware that not every kid is going to relate to a drag queen, but it's
hmm
not just about relating to the message behind drag. It's the message that if I, as a queer kid who I have no interest in drag, I've never had the idea of it, but I see someone who has tapped into that queer or even femininity. I feel like in churches, it is so, so important. I mean, I remember very vividly, and I can't even believe we're getting on. I kind of had a feeling we would, but I didn't know that we would get so off topic from my notes. But this is just truly something beautiful about having these interactions with people. And I do remember very vividly. This memory just kind of came back to me right now, where I was at church and I was getting ready to show someone a cartwheel. And I had two sisters. It was just the three of us at the time. So I was really the only boy. And I had always watched them pull their hair back behind their ears. And I remember very vividly getting ready to show a cartwheel. And then I went to do this with my hair, even though I didn't have any hair. And I remember the humiliation in
mm,
front of everyone that someone was like, hey, you're not a girl. What are you doing? You don't even have long hair. Knock it off with that. And I'll never forget that. My hands are getting so sweaty just even talking about it because
yeah.
it was something that I just remember feeling so humiliated. And it's something that when I heard you say that in that interview, it was so moving to me because in that moment, had I have had someone like you who would have been welcomed in my church, I would have felt not so alone. And I love that
hmm
your message behind, what being drag is beyond drag. It's more than drag. I find that so amazing. I think it's one of the most beautiful things we can do for the younger communities now
mm,
because, you said it so perfectly. It's not just about drag, it's about being just queer and being
yeah.
accepted, and you are representing that. So I love that so much from you.
I appreciate that. Thank you. It is like the art of drag is specifically about, can we curse on this podcast?
Fuck yeah.
Okay, great, good. So it's about gender fuckery, right? That is what the art of drag comes down to. If there's one unifying theme in drag, it's gender fuckery because you can do anything in drag. Obviously, we know this. We've watched Drag Race for however 16 seasons now at this point. So we know that drag is theater and it can do anything, but the unifying theme of it is gender fuckery. And that is a gift to everyone. That's not just a gift, like you're saying, not just a gift to potential future drag artists out there, right? It is a gift because the people who are the most bound and burdened by patriarchy binary system that we all have to navigate when we come into this world are honestly straight men. Like straight men are the most burdened by this because there's no performance like performing masculinity for other men, right? Like that's a thing I had to do for 30 whatever years, and that takes all of your energy, all of your thought. If you're not a person to whom that comes very naturally, if you're not John Wayne, right, which most of us aren't. I can't remember who said it, but somebody, some public figure said, like, nobody's John Wayne. Like, John Wayne's John Wayne, period. But that's like the archetype of masculinity that's held up, and everybody else with a penis has to match that. And so, no, like, drag is a gift to everybody because it just does. It just loosens those laces, those shoelaces on those really tight shoes, or slip into a sensible pump instead. And just says, babe, like, be you. Like that's what it's all about. Be yourself. And if yourself wants to tuck her hair back before she does a cartwheel, like like do that. No shame. For me, it's all about shame slaying. That's my little tagline. So let's slay the shame. It has no purpose. It doesn't serve us.
Well, I think you're doing such a beautiful job with it. And I also think that you are a true representation of what it means to do something with grace, specifically when it comes to how long you lived not doing drag. And then all of a sudden in your adulthood, I read a post recently where you talked about how you got your name. And I thought that that was the most amazing, almost like foreshadowing what was to come, which we'll talk about that here in a little bit. But I do think that you cannot do that without grace. And you
Mm,
cannot give grace to others if you do not give it to yourself first. And I think that
mm,
you are a true representation of being able to do something so gracefully. So enough about that.
wow.
Enough about that.
Thank you. I'm honored. Thank you.
Of course. I do want to talk about the history of your name because I already know, but for some of the listeners or some of my listeners who have never heard of you or who aren't even aware, they're going to be like, Flamy Grant, why does that sound so familiar? Which, by the way, that happened to me. It totally happened to me. I'm like, Flamy Grant, I know that name. I know that name. And then my partner was like, Amy Grant? And I was like, no, it's Flamy Grant. And he was like, no, Amy Grant. I'm like, oh my God. So let's talk about the history of your name, how it came about. Please share
Yeah.
everyone that amazing story.
Yeah. Well, I love that you at least still had like the flash of recognition because what happens now, specifically with like super young audience members, like teenagers, Gen Z kids, they genuinely don't know who Amy Grant is, which is a hard thing for me to acknowledge that I'm okay, I'm that old. I am. And then I'll even like start singing Baby Baby and they're like, "Yeah, no, sorry. I don't get the reference." That someone actually said that to me at a show in LA. I don't get the reference. And I was just like, I've never been less cool than I am right now. But honestly, my drag is not about being cool, obviously. So, Amy Grant, yes, she is the Christian music diva. Like she's the one. And for the ones who know, she had a massive crossover moment in the 90s where she's actually, I read this in Billboard or somewhere, but she's the 15th best-selling female artist, pop artist of the 90s. Like, which people just wouldn't necessarily think that, but she's right up there with Janet Jackson and everybody else who was selling massive albums in the 90s because that's what Heart in Motion was. It sold so many copies and Baby Baby was everywhere. And there were like five or six singles from that record that all like made it into the top 10. So yeah, Amy Grant's loomed very large in my life, mostly because I was only allowed to listen to Christian music growing up. So if I couldn't find it at our local Christian bookstore, it was off the table. So for me, Amy Grant was, I was the little gay kid like with my diva and that was her. And so the name didn't come to me, until it was 2019. My husband and I were literally in bed watching Drag Race and I turned to him and I was like, "I don't have a drag name. Do you have a drag name?" And he was like, "Of course I do. Amanda Do It." He even had a tagline. What was it? It was like, "You need something done, you need Amanda Do It." Like just very hilarious and cute. And I was like, "Well, I want one." And I'm, super, I love the punny names named after someone's favorite artist, like Delta Work and Shaka Convict. And so that was where my brain went initially. And I was like, I don't know how to make Amy Grant punny. And then it just like came to me and I just said it out loud and he laughed. My husband laughed. And he has none of he didn't come up in the same religious trauma I came up in. But I was like, well, if you laugh, then I know there's like a whole generation of like youth group church kids who will get it and love it. And even if Gen Z doesn't get the reference.
That is so amazing. And what's also so fascinating, real quick, because I feel like we have to talk about it a little bit. When it comes to the time frame, Flamey was born 5 years ago.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like what you have accomplished, what you are continuing to do in 5 years, I feel like it's just such a good testament to what it truly means to do something authentically you and what it means to take that leap of faith into the unknown, a world that you know nothing about, truly what rebirth is all about. 5 years, that's crazy.
I mean, you've said it. Like that's it. I think about that all the time and think about how for years and years I tried to figure it out. I tried to find my place. I knew as a songwriter, I knew like I wanted to perform and there were different iterations of that. Like I was, early on I was just Matthew Blake was my stage name. That's my first and middle name. Like, and I tried doing that and it was fine. nothing really ever took off. And then I was in another band called Girl Boy, which technically I still am in. We haven't dissolved that band. We're just on hiatus while we figure out what we're doing. But yeah, it's the thing that clicked was when I finally like reconnected with the inner child, the little kid clomping around in my mom's heels, and started to undo brick by brick all that shame that had been put on me and that I helped build myself, honestly, because I wanted to fit in. I wanted to belong in that world. And yeah, once that started to happen, things just clicked. You're right. It's a testament to being authentically yourself and what the power of that can do. And thankfully, life is moving like too fast to like stop and think about it too much, because I feel like I would just like spin if I thought about it. I would just be like, what has happened? Where am I? What's going on? But I'm just, it's just like I'm just Kristen Bell singing "Do the Next Right Thing," like that's all I can do is like step at a time.
And obviously, you cannot do this without pissing some people off. And
Truth.
so we have to talk about this big moment. What's the story behind the Grammys?
Yeah, Grammys was kind of not a flip decision, but definitely like in my very small cohort of people who know the music industry, which is a thing that's like you already said it. Like I came into this world without really knowing much about it at all. And right now I'm talking about the music industry. Drag, I think I knew a little bit more about because I had at least been a consumer. All my previous attempts with the music industry were like very indie, just do it all yourself, like whatever. I just didn't know how any of the actual industry itself worked. So I was talking with a couple friends and I was like, should we like try to figure out how to submit my record, Bible Belt Baby? Should we submit that record to the Christian Grammy category? Because that is the category that I released it in, was in Christian music. And so we pulled in some folks who knew how to do that. I had consulted with an agency out of Nashville, and they did it for me. Basically, they submitted the record, and we did, followed all the rules to the letter and put the album in for consideration. So then what happened is, Grammy committees, there's a screening committee for every category. So for Christian music, there's like a committee of people who are ostensibly like work in that industry, like they work in Christian music. And then they look at all the entries and they basically screen to make sure that the entries fit in their category. And then that is what goes out to Grammy voters, saying like, here's the whatever 100 albums you can pick from to nominate for a Grammy, right? So this is all before you ever even get to a Grammy nominated record. All of that happens, and so we didn't know one way or the other what had happened with my submission until literally the day before that ballot process closed. Somebody that I didn't know just messaged me randomly on Instagram. She's a Grammy voter, and she's like, "Hey, I saw your record in the pop category. It's an honor to vote for you, to try to get you nominated in pop." And I was like, "Oh, that's weird. That's not the category we submitted it in." So we did a little digging, and sure enough, it had been moved out of the Christian category into just the general pop category. Like so Taylor Swift, like Flamy Grant, up against names like that, which whatever. We knew my chances were a long shot even in the Christian category, but for me, it's always been about like representation, taking up space. Like I am a drag queen doing Christian music. If there's a category to nominate me in, it's the Christian category. I feel like I'm drawing this story out too long, but let's get it down to the point, which is that we basically enlisted the help of like some media outlets, including Rolling Stone, who had covered me previously. And we were like, this happened. We don't know why I was moved out of the category. We're trying to figure it out. And Rolling Stone was very interested because they've done other stories about the weird kind of not transparent Grammy nomination process. And so this kind of fit with their larger story around that. And basically what they finally got, they got a statement from the Grammys saying, yeah, the Christian category is not a stylistic category. It is a content-based category. So any style of music can be nominated, and is frequently. You can have hip hop music, you can have, I don't know why I was going to say polka. I'm sure there's not been a polka Christian album nominated, but just like stylistically, that's not what it's about. It's about the content. So the lyrics have to be Christian, right? That's what makes it Christian music, which also was not a surprise to us. But they said, you've got adult language. on your record, which I do. I have the explicit label on a couple songs. And so they basically kicked me out for that reason. So that's, yeah, basically saying words like cock and fuck on a song called Esther, Ruth, and Rahab, which is about Christian patriarchy and how it overlooks women in the Bible. It's like the most Christian song on the record, by the way. Like it's literally name drops like 15 women from the Bible. But that's what got me kicked out of the Grammy category. And yeah, it made some waves, made some headlines. But at least now we have like that rule out there, right? Like if we know you can't swear in Christian music, like according to the gatekeepers of Christian music. So, we're gonna try it again with this next record that's coming out, and this time we're playing by all the rules, even the unwritten ones. So the new record will not have any explicit language on it, and we'll see. We'll do the same process. We'll submit and see what happens. But this time, if they kick me out, it's not going to be for not having Christian content. It's going to be for other reasons, which we'll talk about that if and when it comes to that. But yeah.
Oh, for sure. Now, was this also after you had already made history on iTunes or before?
This is all after, yeah. So I'd already had a
Wow.
number one, yeah, I'd already had a number one record on the Christian iTunes charts. It hit number 20. My single hit number 20 on the Billboard Christian digital charts. So yeah, like that had already all happened, which is that is what I know. I don't think I ever would have even considered like submitting to the Grammys if that stuff hadn't already taken place. It just seemed like a natural progression. Been a weird year.
Was the Billboard also a first in that category? Had that ever been done?
Yeah, no, no, definitely not. There had never been, I don't think there, I can't think of any other drag performers who specifically released like a Christian record. That was definitely a first for that record to hit number one.
All in 5 years, Flamey. I think that is the
Yeah,
coolest thing ever.
that's crazy. That's what I mean when I say like I can't think about it too much or I start to be like, what's happening?
Well, definitely rooting for you, and hopefully in this next project of yours, that submission can be done and we can take back that power and like you said, it's not just about that. It's not just a power move. It truly is, you're making a testament or a testimony, I'm sorry, to emerging artists. Because you
Yeah.
are the first. I'm covered in goosebumps because I think it's like the coolest thing ever.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's great. And you're right. That's what it's about. I mean, obviously a Grammy would be, even a nomination would be super amazing, but it really is more about like, it's been how long have we endured this kind of exclusion from these spaces? And, obviously it's only getting worse with this like rise of this militant right-wing craziness that's happening in our country right now. So anything I can do, if there's something I can do to like just continue to elbow my way into spaces where queer people have been ejected or ignored or suppressed, oppressed. Like that's the power of drag, right? The drag is unmissable. It's meant to be seen. It is meant to like pull your focus. And so that's why it just makes sense that that's the space I want to do that, or I want my drag to catch the eye.
And you're doing it well. And I have a really good feeling that it will continue to happen. And like you said, elbowing your way through is the only way to do anything. You have to. So I love it so much. And since we're on the topic of new music and where new music is going, we have to talk about Sparkle.
Yeah,
Which I love it, by the way. It's so amazing.
thank
And
you.
in honor of Sparkle, what would the letters in Flamey stand for?
Let's see. This is good. Flamey. Okay, so I'm trying not to go with the obvious,
I know I went the obvious route with this just in case you got stuck, but I was still stuck on MNY. So
right? Yeah, like what do I want to say? I want to say fuck loser ass. I'm trying to get to patriarchy or systems of oppression or whatever, but it's hard with the M. What did you come up with?
so I went the complete opposite route you did.
Oh,
But still obvious. Like I went with, oh my gosh, and don't make fun of me for this. This is so like middle school. I went F for fabulous, L for love.
oh, I love it. I love it.
So
This is
that's
way
the
better.
so that's the route I went.
I love that so much. Yeah, can you tell I'm like just like hardcore Enneagram 8 over here, like, fuck the patriarchy, fuck.
I love
Um,
it.
no, that's way better. Great thing about making music and like taking the time to make music is that it lets you self-edit. So like sometimes those first instincts are not what makes it out into the song, which is a very good thing in my case because I can get real hot real fast, you know? Like with Sparkle, for instance, like the song is a response to the question like, how do you handle all the haters? Because that's a question I get from people all the time. Like you get so much hate, how do you handle it? And I'm like, Sparkle, baby, stay proud, radiate, keep laughing. But it does address some of said haters who kind of, came for me online or came for me in their sermons and stuff like that. And it's like, if I had just said it off the cuff, I might have been way more like militant about it, which I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. But for me, like, and for Flamy, for Flamy's brand, it's like I want my drag to take all of that abuse and all of that bigotry and just kind of like wave it off, like poo poo it a little bit, take the wind out of their sails, take the power away from them, because that really is what it's about for me. We give so much power away by addressing these ideas as though they carry any water or carry any legitimate weight, and they don't. It's just pure unbiased bigotry that's based out of their own fear and shame, right? It is our problem and our issue when it, starts to affect our lives and our livelihood. But in general, like I'm not here to fix bigots. Like that my message isn't for bigots. It's for the queer kids coming up to see, this drag queen responding in that way and saying, "Hey, like just let's just shove those to the side. Let's ignore those. You focus on you and your sparkle. Like that's what you're here to do."
Yes, and I love the message of it too. I feel like it's needed everywhere. And going back to what we talked earlier today, it's needed in more than just a category. And I think that that's what really captivated me to you is truly being able to put out a message that's not so obvious in one lane. It's truly multi-laned. And I love that so much. So we'll circle back to Flamey later. We'll actually put that task on the listeners. Listeners, you guys come up with those letters and that saying, and we're gonna put it in your hands.
Oh, I just finished it. I finished mine.
Let's do it.
But it's really bad. Fuck loser ass MAGA yahoos. That's my gut instinct and response to that question.
Listen, if podcasts ever made it to the Grammy, I hope mine gets nominated and they pull it off because of this statement. So just because I already put you on the spot, I'm going to put you on the spot again. I came up with this because not just the whole Grammy situation, but just everything in general, the adversity that comes with this, right? So you have obviously ruffled some feathers. People in the category of Christian music have obviously talked about it. They read the headlines. It's not like
Hmm.
they're not aware. Since your name was in their mouths, we're going to put their names in your mouth, but we're going to drag them up. So I came
Oh
up
my
with some.
gosh.
So I came up with a couple of artists that are either positive, alternative, or Christian artists, and I want to see how you would drag up their name, if that
Oh
makes
my
any
gosh.
sense.
Okay. This is funny because this is a game I've played with some of my friends already. So maybe you'll have names that I've already got a name for.
Hopefully, I have one that you haven't came up with.
I
So,
know, right? Yikes.
so now I'm going to start with the one I think you haven't, even though I'm pretty sure you've heard of her, but I don't know. We'll see. Jackie Velasquez.
Oh, I adore Jackie Velasquez. Um, I don't know. Like I just why do I immediately go to dirty? I'm thinking like Jack Me, or
Jack Me Velasquez.
Jack Me Velasquez.
I love it. Which
I feel
that's
so bad for saying that because she's so great. She's so great.
she's so
Um,
amazing. I love her so much. And
oh,
so it's okay to say this is not one you had already thought of with your friends, right?
we had not dragged up Jackie Velasquez's name. I'm
When
sticking with that. There you go.
I love it. So it's already a big win for me anyway, because I gave you one you had not done before.
Yeah.
So Jack Me Velasquez, I love it. Big Daddy Weave.
Oh, Big Daddy Weave. Gosh, I haven't thought of them in forever. Um, I mean, it's kind of already a drag name, right? Like Big Daddy Weave. Yeah, it doesn't need dragging. It's like,
I love that you
I
said
mean,
that.
you could just do Big Mama Weave. Like, there you go.
I love that you said that because on my notes I put this is already a drag name on its own, but if I could change any part of it, it would be Big Zaddy. weave.
Oh, perfect. Big Zaddy weave. Yes.
I love that one. What about Colton Dixon?
I don't know that one. Is that a he?
Yes.
Is he like newer? Because I haven't listened to Christian music in the past, like,
He was like American Idol,
oh,
left American Idol, and then went on to do a lot of Christian music. And so I
interesting.
don't know a lot of his music. It's just one of the names that popped up.
Like, it's a porn name, is what that is.
It
Like, seriously, come on, Colton Dixon. Like,
it already has Dick in it, so I'm like, that was
yeah, it's like hold, I don't know, like hold some Dixon, like hold some Dixon.
like you're actually better at this than I thought you were going to be.
Oh
So
God, I feel terrible at it, so thank you. You're very
no.
kind.
Are you kidding me? You literally just came up with Jack Me Velasquez. That is fucking iconic.
God, I pray she never hears this.
Oh my gosh, I hope she doesn't either. But if you do, Jackie, I love you. I love you
We
so
love you,
much.
Jackie. We love you so much. Un lugar celestial.
Oh, I love that you know that. I love it.
Oh my gosh, that was her first record. Jackie Velasquez is my first celebrity meeting. I waited in a line at a Lifeway Christian bookstore in Asheville, North Carolina, and got her to sign. I have the signed CD. So she was the first celebrity I ever met, and she was so sweet, and I still love her.
I love it. Well, now that we're on the topic of Jackie, something she had in common with Amy was the fact that they got so much backlash for being too secular, not modest enough. This was not even in my notes to talk about, but I love that it's just kind of organically going there because she was also known for doing that movie, and I'm blanking out, something about
I
Papi
am,
Chulo or something,
yeah, I'm blanking on it too.
but she was known for the media not receiving her well because you're a Christian artist, but you're not modest enough. You're doing secular stuff. And so, in honor of that being a theme, I'm going to give you a couple of categories on tapping into your Amy Grant. So, we're going to put
Mm,
Flamey away for just a couple of seconds and we're going to role
okay,
play. How would Amy Grant respond to? And this could just be like a catchphrase, one word, doesn't have to be anything too crazy. I'm just curious to see how you acting out as Amy, how she would respond. Are you ready?
okay.
Amy Grant, you are showing way too much skin.
I'm sorry you feel that way. I feel like my body is a gift from God, and I want to share it.
Perfect.
This is really hard. This is actually harder than the other one. Putting my words in Amy's mouth. Yikes, that feels blasphemous.
Amy Grant, what are these affair rumors we hear?
None of your business. No, that's
Gold.
sorry. That's 1000% flamey. Like the thing about Amy is she's always been so gracious with all of this stuff. And this is why she's continues to be like a model and an example for me because I'm not gracious naturally. I'm not inclined to that. I want to do better at it. So she would say, honestly, she'd probably just say, you know what, that's between me and my ex-husband and God. Like that's probably how she would respond to that.
And I love that you say that because that is truly why, in my opinion, she's had so much longevity, is because
Hmm.
she never gave them the backlash back. She didn't get nasty with it. And she truly
Yep.
could have. She truly could have. I mean, she had the attention of every media in the world,
Yes.
especially in the 90s. And she had every opportunity to backlash back, and she never did. So I
She never
love
did.
her for that. I love her for that. The next one I have for you is a different word to describe divorce.
In from Amy's perspective and her story and her experience, I would probably say grace. I think that is the filter that she looks at most of life through. And yeah, grace.
Amy Grant, what would you say to this artist that's named Flamy Grant?
I would say, what an honor to be memorialized in a drag. Isn't that every pop star's like, isn't that the ultimate form of flattery to have a drag artist like want to model themselves after you? What an honor.
I love it. I think it's so funny that you also think like, oh, I wasn't really good at this. I wasn't good at that. And I'm like, okay, first of all, for anyone that's doing something this big and 5 years in, to their craft, okay? And you came up with an iconic name for one of my favorite artists, which was Jackie Velasquez. I am like, what are you talking about? Like, you're so amazing.
Thank you. Thank you. I will take my drag award now.
That was so amazing. Flavy, the last thing I have for you is I'd like for you to just share whatever details you can. Maybe not too many, maybe you're not able to yet, but upcoming projects, your album, what can you tell us about that?
Yes. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited for this new record. We recorded it in March in Nashville. I ran a Kickstarter last December. It went beyond any of my expectations in terms of the support it raised. So I was able to record like a real Nashville record with real Nashville musicians. And for that alone, it's some of the best work I think I will have definitely ever put out because the caliber of talent is insane. But I also love the songs on this record. I love the themes. It's my first time as Flamy putting together a really thematic record because Bible Belt Baby kind of came together a little haphazardly. I was pulling from old songs that I had written before Flamy, pre-Flamy, that kind of stuff, and we cobbled together a record that I'm super proud of, and I love that record. And but in this case, the new album, which by the way, I'm about to announce this week on social media. I haven't shared the name of the album yet, but the title of the record is going to be called Church. Period. Just Flamy Grant Church. And so it is very much themed around my upbringing in the church, the role the church plays in specifically queer people's lives, obviously, because that's what I know. And then kind of my own thoughts about, well, just where we are today with the church and where we could potentially be moving. But it's all very obviously draggy and and just through that lens. So it's very much like the first album in that it's got some cheeky, fun stuff, and then it's got, like Sparkle, for instance, and then it's got some of my most kind of vulnerable in some ways songwriting, talking about my own experiences with my family, with, as I said, my own church growing up. So I don't know, it's pretty vulnerable, but I hope that it will speak to a lot of people in the same way that the first record did, because so many of us came from those spaces. So
I cannot
yeah.
wait. I cannot wait. And
Oh,
I literally got goosebumps when you said church because isn't that what music hold on, let me get my wording right. Isn't that a place where music should take you?
yes.
That's what music is all about. Music takes you to a higher place. It connects
Mm,
us. It's very universal, you know? And so I love that name. I love that this is going to be a place that we can all travel to with just
yeah.
plugging it into our ears. So I
Yeah.
love that so much. We cannot wait.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm glad you said it because it feels really egotistical to be like, I want to take us to church. But honestly, yes, like the way you phrase it is really great. I'm going to carry that with me because like church should be a place where we connect not only with the divine, but with ourselves, with each other. Like that's the whole concept of church, right? It's community that is spiritually centered. And so many of us don't have that anymore in our lives because church is not a safe space for so many people. So like, yeah, let's just continue to make the spaces that we need. That's what it's all about.
Let's continue it and let's continue it with Flamy Grant, everyone.
Oh, so I'm honored you had me, and you are so creative with the questions. You were absolutely right. These are things that I've never had a chance to talk about, so I appreciate it so much.
No, I appreciate your time. It's the most valuable thing we have, and thank you for sharing it with me. So thank you so much.
Cheers.
Cheers. We'll be in touch. Bye, Flamy.
Bye.
Hey, if you've made it this far, don't forget to follow the socials on the screen or in the description below. And don't forget to subscribe to this channel. See you next week.